This is Mornings with Matt, the Deering Acting Studio podcast, where we discuss the connection between life and acting. All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Mornings with Matt. We have got an amazing show for you today, and we are super pumped, so I'm going to jump right in here. We've got an amazing guest, Mr. Erick Cedeño. What's up? Woo! Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, you did. Cedeño.
Cedeño. Yeah, I got it. No, I didn't, actually.
He was pretty close.
He's you did, but I'm going to correct you at the same
not
time.
quite. I mean, he's like better than most.
Here's the thing.
You got like a 6 or 7. That was good.
I'll take that. You know, one of our pre questions is supposed to be, how do you pronounce our guest's name?
Look, I'm gonna take the hit on that one. I'll take the hit on that one, okay? Yeah, first, I'll take the hit, 100%.
Erick, man, you are an amazing individual. We love having you into the studio to do castings with us. You're always good energy.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Of course. How's your life right now? How are you doing?
Oh, so good. I just got back from LA last night. I was doing a shoot there, so I'm excited. Life is good. You know, it's challenging times, but you just pivot, you know, and you find the opportunity. So
I love that. So today I want to talk a lot about that because I've got this really deep-seated belief system that we really should, as performers, as creators, and really just in life, look to create our own opportunities. I think sometimes people go out there and they'll set a certain goal and they set their goals on the wrong things. So it might be, let's just say, I want to get an agent. So then that's their goal. They get the agent and then they feel very unfulfilled. And your story is one that I love. As Brian was kind of explaining some of what you've done, I'm like, this is amazing. So talk to me about the bicycle Nomad, because what a cool concept.
Yeah, about 12 years back, right? So 12 years ago, I decided I love biking, and I was biking in Miami and the streets were the same and I was getting bored. It wasn't feeding my soul.
Yeah.
And so I took off, and I was wondering, and I've been like this my whole life, even as a kid. So I was wondering if I could go from Canada to Mexico by bike.
Interesting.
And so my first trip, I planned it, and I went to Vancouver, Canada, and I took off and went south, and I followed the Pacific Coast Highway all the way down to Tijuana, Mexico. And I camp out, engage with people, engage with nature, and really took the time. And I didn't know what I was doing, but I realized later that I was taking the time for myself, to be with myself, to listen to myself without any noise.
Yeah. That's incredible. So how long did that trip take you?
That took me about 39 days.
Okay.
The following year, I was like, I'm ready for another one. and I went from Miami to New York City.
Okay, wow.
And I did several ones. And the one that really changed and where Bicycle Nomad came about was about 6 years ago. In 2014, I went from New Orleans all the way up to Niagara Falls, Canada. And I wanted to retrace the history of the Underground Railroad by bicycle, to go to historical sites of the Underground Railroad. Why I say that changed my life and changed where I am today is because a lot of people were like, oh, I wouldn't do that. You're going to go through Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee. As a person of color, you might encounter racism, or you might be harmed along the way. And actually, it was the opposite. When I started my trip, I was getting like people, compassion, love. They will buy me, like I would stop at a gas station. They were like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going from New Orleans up to Canada. Oh, can I buy you something to eat? I'm like, whoa, no, I'm okay. I have my own money, right? I thought that they thought I was homeless. But they were kind. They just wanted to be a part of the story, right? So then people were like, can I buy you sweet tea? Can you stay in my house? Can I treat you for dinner? And this was from Louisiana all the way up to Canada. I encountered that.
Wow.
So when I was biking, I don't like to listen to music. I like to listen to my thoughts. And I said, wow, I'm encountering all this kindness and compassion of people. And I was wondering why people said, don't go. And I'm glad that I listened to my intuition and I went because I encountered what I just told you. And I said, how can I inspire people to travel by bicycle, to use the bike as a method of transportation? Because social media wasn't enough, right? I couldn't do that with pictures.
Sure.
So I decided to create Bicycle Nomad. And the mission of Bicycle Nomad is to inspire people to travel by bicycle, to go beyond what they think they could go, you know?
I love that. I love that story. So, and I've got a lot of questions here. It's interesting because I live very close to where we work. So I oftentimes will bike to work, but for me, it's less than a mile. It's a very easy bike ride. And I understand what you're saying about it starts to get boring a little bit, or it starts to become, monotonous. And I enjoy it. I love that freedom. I love riding my bike, but to have something like that where I could go on a big journey and go inward, I think is like, what a wonderful thing.
It's a meditation,
Yeah.
It's a long meditation where you are not listening to any noise, no work, right? No one, no friends, no job, no society tell you what to do, screaming at you. So you literally, even though you're biking by yourself and you're just like going within, right? Sometimes I think about my mom who passed away when I was 19, where my love for traveling came from her. Sometimes I think about what I'm going to eat tonight, where I'm going to stay. And sometimes I don't think about anything. And I like those times when it's just peaceful and quiet and I have no thoughts.
Yeah, that's nice. So, so tell me, did you know a lot about the Underground Railroad before you went on that journey?
Very small, right? Because in our school system, they don't teach us that history, right? So luckily, I went to an historical Black college in Daytona Beach, and I took African-American history, so they taught me more about the Underground Railroad. And the beauty of that trip was, and a lot of people may not know what the Underground Railroad, but the Underground Railroad was created for enslaved Africans to go north and escape the South, to go into freedom into Canada.
Yeah.
So there's many routes. I follow a route called Follow the Drinking Gourd. And actually it's on YouTube. It's a song called Follow the Drinking Gourd. A lot of people back then thought that they were just singing in plantations, but they were actually singing a GPS.
Wow.
And a lot of people obviously didn't know how to read, write, but they understood that you follow. And the song goes, you follow the Tennessee River into the Ohio River, and then follow the North Star into Canada. And that's literally what I did. I stayed in the banks of the river and got up to Canada. So, yeah, amazing to travel with a purpose.
Yeah.
It translates to life. Well, I always tell people that traveling by bike translates to life, because when I travel with a purpose, like discovering history, which I love history, right? You can't wait. I was waking up and I couldn't wait to pedal. And I pedal 80 miles a day. People are like, how can you do it? Because I'm going with a purpose. I can't wait till what's on the other side. Like, I can't wait. Oh my God, I'm heading up to Louisville, Kentucky. And I know there's a lot of history there. So I couldn't get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Traveling with a purpose in life makes sense. There's been times like when I went from, prior to the Underground Railroad, I actually wanted to retrace the history of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And it's still one of my bucket lists. And that one goes from Oregon, the coast of Oregon, into St. Louis. And that might be my next one.
That's amazing. So let me ask you, were you able to, at some point, begin to say yes to the gifts? Because I know, like, at first you said, no, you don't have to buy me food because I have my own money. But what's interesting is when we flip our mindset and we realize that the most rewarding and best feeling in the world is to give. And when you don't allow somebody to give to you, when you don't receive the love, you're actually denying somebody that great feeling of feeling good, right? And so I think there's a line there someplace, and I wonder if along the path, if you discovered how to receive love, because I know for me it's one of the hardest things, you know. Like, you don't realize even how much people love you, and then when all of a sudden, if something happens and you feel love, you're like, wow, I had no idea, you know. And so here you have strangers wanting to love you, wanting to care for you, wanting to, like you said, be a part of this journey. They think, wow, like, this is a really great thing. Let me contribute. And your first response is like, I'm good, I'm not homeless, right? But then did you have a change in mindset there?
Almost immediately, because I realized, because it kept happening.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, there's a pattern here. And I could realize that people just want to be a part of the history or part of my story. And for me, was maybe the ego or something told me, no, I have my own money. I don't want to be boxed into like a homeless guy or a hobo or something like that. And there's nothing wrong to be hobo or homeless, but I just didn't want to be cast. I work hard for my money, and I took 2 months off for this trip, so I don't need your help. But it kept happening. I'm like, whoa, I see what's going on. And I took everything that they gave, you know, because it was that, like you said, it was their kindness, you know. And actually, it was their kindness that kept me going forward.
Yeah, I bet.
I probably would not have finished the trip without the kindness of people, you know.
Yeah, that is God at work. That is the universe opening itself up to you when you are following your purpose. Doors open. Like, that is what happens. I know we were doing a workshop one time up in Wickenburg here in Arizona for some kids, and they couldn't afford to have us in there, so we went and we did the workshop. And you know, it's about an hour trip up there, plus we do the workshop, hour trip back, and it was one of the most rewarding experiences. We had one of the school teachers up there. She said, hey, one second. And she ran back to her classroom and came back about 5 minutes later, and she had stuffed some cash in an envelope. And she just said, please take this. You know, it's not much, but it will at least be gas money, you know, to get home. And we so appreciate it. And it still brings tears to my eyes, because it made me feel like the days of Apostle Paul and roaming the earth, and understanding that you're going to be taken care of wherever you go. You don't have to have a contract up front. You know, it's okay. And so then we shared a meal together. You know, we got to break bread on the way home, and I still talk about that experience, because that was just straight human kindness, and that to me was worth more than the big contracts that we get from corporations and different people, because it was like, this person gave everything they had. You know, it was huge.
Correct. Yeah, and I have two stories to tell you, and I mean, we could be here till next week telling you stories about the Underground Railroad and the kindness of people. But I got two stories that touched me, and when you said that, it brought tears to your eyes. I was on an empty road my second day leaving New Orleans. I was in an empty road, dirt road. I haven't seen any cars. I just ran out of water, and I couldn't fill up my bottles. And I looking at my map, I said, okay, there'll be about another hour, maybe two, before I could fill up my water, right? My throat started hurting so bad. Have you ever been thirsty to the point where your throat is just like...
I mean, I have, but I don't want to compare to you right now.
Yeah, that is a different kind, I think.
That's like saying, you ever been really hungry? And I'm like, well, I don't want to...
Yeah.
So my throat, that was funny. My throat was so dry that I started drinking saliva. That's how bad it was. All of a sudden, I see the pickup truck, boom, zoom right by me, and it stops about 100 feet, and it starts reversing. And I was like, oh my God. And all I could see is a shotgun in the back of the window, hung like a shotgun, and the Confederate flag. And I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And now there's nobody around but this truck and me. And they're reversing, and they got next to me. And they're like, hey, where are you going? And where are you coming from? I said, New Orleans, heading up to Niagara Falls, Canada. And I said, we saw you like 15 miles south of here. And we were wondering where this guy is going, because my bike is full of camping gears and stuff. So I'm going somewhere. And she says, you're going to Canada on your bike? And I was somewhere in Louisiana. And I said, yes. And the driver says to me, hey, do you need any water? We have a cooler full of water. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, who travels with a cooler full of water? I just literally, the first thought was, these guys, is a lady and a man, they were angels.
Of course.
And I was like, you guys are angels. And we actually, on bike travel, we call it adventure travel, bike travel. We call those people trail angels. They just appeared to help you out. Oh my God. I hugged them. They probably thought I was crazy. And I was like, you guys are angels. I drank pretty much all their bottles. They had like 24 bottles. I must have drank 22. And we said bye and they kept going. And I'm like, wow, that is insane. At that moment, I looked up and I said, I'm protected.
Yeah.
I'm protected. Another story that brought tears to my eyes. I'm somewhere in Alabama, really in the country of Alabama, deep in there. And I see a campground and I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay here. So I go inside and I put my bike by the door and the guy immediately said, hey, whose bike is that? And I said, oh, that's mine. You want me to move it? It's like, where are you coming? Where are you going? I said, I'm coming from New Orleans, heading up to Canada, and I'm retracing the history of the Underground Railroad. And the guy said, wow, I cannot profit from your story and your spiritual journey. So you are going to be our guest. And as a matter of fact, I want you, after you set up your camp, I want you to come to my house and I want you to be our guest, our dinner table tonight. And I'm like, that experience brought tears literally to my eyes, because I started thinking of the people that told me not to do this trip. Yeah. And here I am meeting this stranger that says, I don't want your money because you're on a spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, again, we could be here till next week telling you stories like this, sure, all the way up to Canada,
Well, tell me one more story if you would, because I'm just curious. I'm smart enough to know that I don't know anything. So, please, would you share something that we probably don't know about the Underground Railroad, or yes, maybe our listeners might not know. Would love to hear something that could perhaps spark some curiosity, because it's another one of our principles around here is to inspire curiosity in others. And it's not force your idea on somebody, but it's you live in a certain way, you live in purpose, and then other people get curious and they might ask you, hey, what kind of Wheaties are you eating? And then you get to share at that point in time. So I would love to hear. I'm curious. So I'm very curious about the Underground Railroad, and I know I don't know. So if you would please educate.
I'll tell you one more story, and then we go into that. I'm somewhere south of Columbus, Ohio, and again I run out of water. It's a thing. I only carry 3 bottles of water, and you're in the middle of nowhere. You're not seeing Safeway or Whole Foods every mile, Yeah. So I'm running out of water, and I didn't see anything, and all of a sudden I look to my right, and there's a Buddhist monk in the middle of nowhere, Ohio, watering his plant, and I'm like, whoa, that is weird. I approached him, he's dressed up, and I'm like, I approached him, and I said, sir, can I have some of your water to fill up my bottles? And he says, why don't we go inside? I have cold water, and I'll fill them up. And I was like, oh, sure. So he asked me again. It's the thing that people always ask me.
Yeah.
Where are you going? Where are you coming? Right? We go inside. There's like 7 other monks inside this temple. And I was like, I felt like I was in another country. And it was just beautiful and peaceful, right? And I told the story where I'm coming and where I'm going. And one monk says, we're about to serve dinner. Would you like to stay with us? And one side of the brain was like, well, it's 5:30. I have to get going. Because if I lose the sunlight, it's dangerous to be on the road.
Yeah.
But the other side of the brain says, have you ever eaten with 7 monks?
Not lately.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks for me.
So I decided to follow that, and I said, oh yeah, no, I would love to eat. And while we were eating, one of the other monks says, you're welcome to stay over tonight if you like. Wow, I said yes. I was gonna sleep outside, and now I'm staying inside a Buddhist temple with Buddhist monk. So we were doing dishes, we were talking about philosophy of Buddhism, and I'm just learning. We went to sleep, and they told me, the only thing is that you have to leave at 5:30 because we do a chant at 5:30. I said, okay, no worries. And I was out, and right when I was getting my bike, and one of the Buddhist monks says to me, hope you had a wonderful evening. Now you have Buddha energy. And I was like, whoa. I was like, amazing, right? So, and that's what bicycle traveling or any traveling brings to me. But that is why, as physical and mental these trips are, I look forward to seeing this experience, because people have felt love, but I have seen love.
Yeah.
I've seen the kindness of people. And that's when I say I wanted to create and motivate people to travel by bike, I always say I want people to see what I have seen, but I'm not talking in the physical. I'm just talking more of kind of spiritually, the kindness of people. I've seen love because people they shown it to me,
Yeah.
But let me go back to your question. It's actually the Underground Railroad was not an underground, and it wasn't a railroad. It was just a route to get to Canada. And there were safe houses, and they were called Underground Railroad Station. So everything was all the terminology were almost like you felt like you were on a railroad, because the guides were called conductors. And one of the most popular one is, and there were many, but Harriet Tubman was an amazing conductor of the Underground Railroad, which she freed over 5,000 enslaved Africans. But people were white, people were black, and they had safe houses. It didn't matter your race, right? Because some people were white, some people were black, and they will hide people in their basement so they could go on to the next person, the next station, and on and on and on. And literally, I felt like that, because I was one time I stayed at, it started raining really hard, and I stayed at a firefighter station, with firefighters, and that was interesting. Totally different experience than the Buddhist monks, but I love those guys. They were awesome. And I've stayed behind churches. I've stayed in Little League baseball fields. So what I'm saying was kind of similar. People were just helping me along the way for me to complete my trip. And people ask me all the time, like, how come you decided to do that? Well, first, I love history. And I thought I was going to do Lewis and Clark expedition first, but I decided to do the Underground Railroad. And then, and I'm so glad that I did, because at that point in my life, I didn't understand why I did it, but later I find out. And that is the reason why I'm here talking to you, because the Underground Railroad is also called the Freedom Trail. And I said, that's it. I turned 40 that day, not that day, but when I left, I was 40 years old, and I was in a space in my life that I was looking for my own freedom.
Yeah.
So I say it's the reason why I'm here in front of you, because I created Bicycle Nomad, and Bicycle Nomad grew from social media, from Instagram. People kept looking at my experiences all throughout the world traveling by bike. And then the transition to now being an actor and a model, that I'm sure we'll talk about that.
Yeah. It's just incredible. And thank you so much for sharing. I think that there's so much similarity and connection to just our our life and our experience as human beings being on this earth, the idea of one of these trips where you go in order to find out what's going to happen. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, and that becomes the joy of it. And we like to say that there is no good movie without struggle. Mm-hmm. And so if the movie just happened and everything was fine, there's no movie to be had. And so what we try to teach ourselves and inspire in other people is the idea of striving to be uncomfortable and get to that place of uncomfortable, and then learn to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, in the I don't know place. And if you can learn to live there, it's a very beautiful place to live, you know?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about your acting journey a little bit. So, so you're with Ford here locally,
I'm
correct?
with Ford, yes.
Yeah. And you've now got quite the following on, you know, different social platforms and things because of the experiences that you've had. So you came at this industry from a unique angle, right? And actually, Brian, do you got my book over there?
Nope. I can go grab it.
All right, because we can't. That's all right. I'll just do a shameless plug with that.
Yeah, well, shameless plug with
Here
that.
we go. Whoops, that's
a good one though. Go Devils, go ASU. I'm down for that.
So we do this little segment here called Brian Sweeney's Shameless Plugs, and I've got a little sound effect for it. Here we go.
I can plug his stuff as well, I assume.
Thank you, Joey. All right, here you go. Ready?
Hey, oh goodness. Okay, I got it. Okay.
All right, here we go. It's time now for Brian Sweeney's Shameless Plugs.
Shameless plugs.
Now I'm just gonna say this. Eric got to see the book
they got dropped. Yeah.
Set,
well, you got to see the flawless grab by Matt, and then the toss over, and then the panic in my eyes as I tried to catch it in the air.
I was just like, whoosh.
Trying to catch the book. Acting is my day job. 7 strategies to market and make money as an actor. I almost dropped it, and that would be a travesty because this is an amazing book.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Brian. That's a shameless plug right there,
right?
bro.
I mean, you
That's
just don't even
crazy.
want to get it dirty. It's such a good book. You don't want to get it dirty. But really, the big part about this that I'd like to talk about today real quick is exactly that. This is really about the idea that you can make your own success. You don't have to sit around and wait for it to come to you. You don't have to go to some other market. You can just make things happen by putting your head down and getting some work done, grinding, and finding what that looks like for you. And I know when we talked yesterday, you told me a lot about that, so I look forward to having you tell everyone about that. But while I'm in shameless plug zone, I'm going to also just plug checking out your Instagram and the stuff you've got going on, because you also, and you got a couple stickers there, Matt.
I do,
that
yeah.
He let us see. So I'd love for us to take this second to show those because they're so awesome.
Bicycle Nomad.
And so you can get those on his site.
Make sure you follow Bicycle Nomad.
This is a shirt.
Buy the shirts.
It's really hard to stand here,
You
Joey.
can contribute to the bicycle lifestyle.
I have it up.
Okay, great.
Super cool. So yeah, he does that, and also he has different routes. I just saw one for Tempe up there. Like, people can check out different routes, and I was super excited because I didn't know either. And when our brother Jimmy came to town, he is way into biking. And I had no idea. He's like, you could travel all through Phoenix on bike, all over the place.
Oh,
And coming from Scottsdale up to where we are. And I was like, what?
Also, just curious, time out. Where's the bandana?
The bandana?
Yeah.
It's over there on the table.
Oh, okay.
What? There's a bandana?
Yeah, I
There's a
know. I want
bandana.
to wear it.
All right.
Yo, I'll wear it. What's going on? Joey gets the bandana. I got no swag, guys. I got nothing. I want some swag.
Some swag.
I'll make sure you get some swag.
All right, but here's my take on this. This is why I brought up my shameless plug here. There was a purpose for it. I really believe this, and I wrote about this in the book. There is no right way to get to success in anything, including acting. So a lot of people have these stars in their eyes, and they just say, "Oh, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna follow somebody else's path," and they just they just go off to LA, kind of with no plan and no idea, and it's not them.
Yeah.
And so you must be creative as an actor. You have to bring yourself into your art. And if you're trying to mimic somebody else, you're going to struggle. Now I do believe in obviously learning from great people and you know, following in certain things, but just like a bicycle path here, if we take off and we're like, okay, we're going to get here, or the Underground Railroad, let's just say, right? So what's the goal? The goal is we're going to get from this point to this point. but there's all these different ways to get there. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as I get there, it doesn't really matter how I got there. And there's going to be all these successes along the way if you allow that to happen. And that we'll go back to our story here. The success is stopping, enjoying the stars sometimes, having a meal with monks. I mean, it's unbelievable. And as actors, we have these little wins along the way, tiny little wins. Celebrate those. You know, be excited about where you are, and don't try to be something you're not.
Yeah.
I mean, even if we listen to Erick's story here too, he didn't say my life's easy, you know, and he didn't say, you know, I'm a nomad and I don't worry about stuff. He says, I work really hard for my money. And then I dedicate time to this, and then people gave to me, great. But it's not like it's not thought out. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then he's been on this journey doing this for so long before he starts the company. And then the company, the attention, even the goodness that's coming to you now from LA and different things, that's all coming from the work ethic. It's coming from him creating his own path. And that's what we really strive to teach, is like, we're going to teach you acting skills here, but we're not telling you we're going to make you famous. Nor do we care if you get famous. We're going to teach you a skill set that then you can use on your path, whatever your path may be. And it's got to be yours. You know, you have to etch out your own little way. And once you figure that out and you live in your own purpose, you stop caring about, oh, I have to get this gig by this time. It's more about, I'm on this journey. I'm excited to be on this journey, and I can't wait to see what's the next safe house, you know? And I mean, commercials can be that way. I land a commercial and it feels like the next safe house, you know? And then it's like, okay, cool. But I'm not done with my journey, because I never wanted that. I never even thought about that. I didn't think about it because I didn't even know an audition was going to come up for that thing. So then I get it and it's like, oh, wow, like what a blessing. Thank you. But I'm already on my path, my journey of mastery and success. And of course, mastery is the pursuit of never-ending learning, because you can never be a true master, says the 6 Buddhists in that. So there's my rant, and I wanted to let everyone know, like, that is what the book's about. This is a life. It's a life book that happens to be about acting. We've had people from around the world buy the book. We're getting good reviews. We're having people in different art forms read the book and say it's really helping them. So that's the information that we're trying to impart. If you buy the Acting Is My Day Job, 7 Strategies to Market and Make Money as an Actor.
Woo!
Hey,
that was really
a great
good.
plug there. Yeah.
We might have to change it to your shameless plug.
Well,
So can he?
no, because Brian's the shameless part, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just very much So can you throw out really quick how that happened with Ford?
Do you want to? Is that okay?
Oh yeah.
So how did you connect into the Ford Robert Black agency and whatnot?
So kind of like the shameless plug that you said. I didn't know that path. I love bikes, and that's all I want to do, right? And ride my bikes and stuff. I opened a coffee shop 5 years ago downtown Phoenix, which recently I had to close because of COVID and all that. But about 2 years ago, it was 2018, maybe January 2nd. And I said to myself, I'm open to other possibilities now. I said it out loud. I'm open to other possibilities now. Well, nothing happened. But
what was the date that you said?
It was January 2nd.
Oh, okay. My date is February 2nd, so I was curious.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a very specific day that I woke up, so it's interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm open to other possibilities, because all I was doing was Bicycle Nomad, the coffee shop, and I loved it, but it was a grind every day to be at the coffee shop. And I said to myself, I'm open to other possibilities. When I said that, about a month and a half later, maybe 2 months later, I get home 9 o'clock at night, tired from work. And I go into my social media, and I had a DM from an assistant from Ford.
Okay.
that says that they were looking for a cyclist for a campaign. And I'm like, well, I'm a cyclist, but I'm more of an adventure cyclist. You know, I'm not like the Tour de France kind of cyclist, right? And I'm like, I don't think they want me. I mean, I have long locks, I have a beard. I'm not like the traditional cyclist. Again, I'm an adventure cyclist. And I caught myself limiting myself because I was like, no, they got the wrong person. That's not who they want. And I'm like, no, they must have seen my pictures, so I'm just gonna go. So I respond all that before I responded, right? So I respond to them and say, yeah, I'll be there whenever they wanted me to be there. I showed up, and it was that. I wasn't the person that the company wanted, because the client was there and I could see where the conversation was going, that I wasn't the cyclist that they were looking for. Right when I was walking outside, and one of the assistants says, Cherie, which owns Ford, says, Cherie wants to talk to you. And I'm like, I don't know who Cherie is. They were like,
she's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, right.
She's like, oh, well, Cherie's the owner of the agency. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll talk to her. So I walked into her office, and Cherie says, just like this, you guys know Cherie?
We love Cherie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Cherie says, dude, she said, dude, I love your look. And I'm like, thank you. She said, let me take some pictures of you, and I want to share with my team. She shares with her team. I leave, and about a week later, she emails me and says, can you come in? We're thinking of maybe possibly representing you. And I'm like, what? Right? So I went from I'm open to possibilities to now being signed with one of the biggest agencies in the Southwest. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, there's something here, and I'm just open right now. Even when Brian called me and says, hey, you want to be in? Yes, I'm saying yes to everything, because one thing that you guys don't know is English is my second language. I grew up in Panama, and I was always subconscious or conscious of the way I spoke and my accent growing up. And when I went to college, I did not want to, I had 2 public speaking classes as a requirement, and I was petrified. I couldn't do it. And for me to be at this age in my life and being able to talk to you guys, doing commercials, doing acting, I'm like, whoa, who is this guy, you know? So, but it's just the frame of mind. I just became open to and accept. Now I accept my accent and all that stuff, you know. So
yeah, you know, it's a beautiful thing. I've worked with quite a few people that have accents, and some very, very successful people who have accents, and I mean like financially successful people. And we work on speaking and different things. And I always say it's an absolute advantage as long as you use it as an advantage. As soon as you become self-conscious of it, it does become a disadvantage. But when you can lean into it, you become automatically, you know, knowledgeable, charismatic. I mean, there's all these like good things that come with an accent, and you get forgiveness, you know. People are like, oh, that's a cute accent. I mean, it's nice as long as you're not scared from it, you know.
Yeah. I'm not afraid.
And I love this idea, like your beard, right, and your locks that you call them. I mean, so cool, like really cool, right? Yeah. But that's my perspective of it, right? And I think for all of us, and this is in the book again too, same idea, but it's like you have to find you and be okay with you and lean into you and then be the best you can be. But that thing that you think wouldn't be attractive is what makes you unique. And that's what makes you marketable, is the fact that, oh, you're the best you can be, you know? I mean, look at Brian here. He's missing a few limbs. He's now had some different companies reach out, and he's now working with companies that are, you know, what's this last one that you just bought some of their stuff?
Amp Life.
Amp Life. So Amp Life is now talking to Brian, and there's a chance that they're going to connect. And he could be a representation of their company. And like, you just never know, like you being you, finding a way to be you is so huge. And that's that example of you could use that to hold you back and say, oh no, that's not me. Or you have to change that mindset and go, wait, they looked at my picture. You know, I can lean into this, you know?
And I mean, technically, the most recent would be Bicycle Nomad.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian Sweeney.
He came in last night and
You got a free shirt, right?
Yeah.
Brian,
and stickers.
Brian, you are famous, bro.
Hey!
Like, you are absolutely a social media influencer, homie. Like
Dreams come true.
The dreams come true, man. They really do.
And what's funny
And that's a huge brand, by the way,
It's
Bicycle
a
Nomad.
ginormous brand.
If you haven't
I was
heard of
like,
Bicycle Nomad,
oh
they
my gosh.
are massive. They are taking over the world.
I was like, no way, these guys are like epic. Oh.
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying that it's Brian and I lived together, and last night it had to be
12 o'clock.
yeah,
he does the time.
yeah, it was like late. He just like leaves. So I just hear the door close, and I'm like, that's really weird. And it's probably like 20 minutes before he gets back, and I'm like, what is he doing at midnight?
Were you getting the shirt last night?
Yeah.
What? You guys had like an underground swag, like that must have looked pretty shady.
a little bit of,
A little bit.
Yo, man, you got the swag.
it was like a, it
He
was like
passes
a,
me the envelope. Yeah.
like a,
That's true.
It is a giant envelope too. Like, let's not lie.
oh,
That's so funny, dude. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. That was very kind of you. I sure appreciate it. So, all right. So I've been very selfish here. I really love to learn. I appreciate all your knowledge. Maybe we should say something acting related before we end the show. Do you have any questions for us that we can kind of breeze through really quick, and then we'll wrap up our episode?
Well, one of the questions that I had was, I'm starting this out. This is my new career. And when I go to casting, I want people to remember me. I want to land the job every time, you know?
Right.
So what do I do? How do I make that happen?
First and foremost, you get online and you register for our
He's already
workshop.
in,
That is
bro.
today. Oh, he's already
He's
in?
in,
Well, just
yeah.
show up.
Actually, yeah,
Just
I'm
show
coming
up.
to that work.
Just show up. You're gonna know everything there is to know today. How to stand out. That is the best question you can ask yourself. And really, what we're gonna get everything down to is gonna be all about just the same way you would prepare for a bike riding expedition. You have to do all the work, then you have to let it go, then you have to be on to the next thing, and ideally, you're gonna put into your mind if the agent calls and says, hey, you booked the job, you're gonna say, which job? Because you really don't care. You're not holding on to it anymore. You've gone,
Okay.
you've done your work, and then you've released, and that becomes a part of your job. And I love the fact that you want to land everyone. You should be competitive, but really you got to be competitive with you. That's the way I look at it, right? It rather than being competitive with everyone else and worrying about things that are out of your control. We will teach you systematic ways to compare yourself to you, so that you can build your own skill set and go, okay, I don't care if I landed the role, actually. What I care about is, did I audition better this time than I did last time? Am I a better actor 6 months from now than I am today? And if that's your measuring stick, I guarantee that you will be successful. You know, that landing the jobs, in my opinion, is completely irrelevant. Those things are going to happen for the people that put in the work. And in a lot of ways, getting a job early, a big job early, without having the right mindset and the right work ethic behind it, can actually be something that holds a lot of people back. Because they, you know, like, I want you to think it's easy, you know, so that you're not scared walking in. But I don't want you to be like worrying about the wrong things. You know, some people, like, they waste so much time on their outfit and their hair and different things, and they don't spend time on the script.
Yeah.
Or, you know, various directions and whatnot. So
And we'll be talking about a lot of that in the workshop. So for everybody watching, you can get the virtual pass as well. And you
yeah,
can
I think
just
we're
be
full.
watching it.
The in-person is full
Yeah,
now.
but you can get the virtual for sure. And speaking on that, I just want to hit one point there, because you also said, like, in the room, like, how do I handle myself in the casting room? How do I become memorable, really, right? And we're going to talk a lot about those traits today. But for you, one of the things is you've done it in a big sense, and it's through coming in with love. We talked about this a lot at the beginning of this episode. You're on this show purely because of the way you handle yourself when you walk into our space.
No, for sure.
That's it. Like, I don't know you outside of that. I know you from coming in here and walking into our casting room and filling it with love every time you come in the room. Being patient out in the lobby when things are going crazy on a certain casting. Like, I've seen you handle yourself on all different versions of this, and we're going to really hit on that today because it does make a difference. At the very least, you become memorable to the casting directors and the people in the room, and that lands you more opportunities to come in, more chances to do things.
And let me ask you a question. Have you ever taken an acting class, like an actual class?
No, I haven't. Again, I just happened to be looking at my Instagram. Ford says, come in. And I actually started just as a model. And because they have a talent side of the business, I decided to speak to Matt. And I say, hey, Matt, I would like to join this side of the business as well. I'm always looking to evolve. So yeah, that's the next thing that I want to do is acting class.
And I want to.
Did Matt show you his DVD collection? He's never gonna live it down.
We had Matt on the show, and his background was his DVD collection, and we're like, well, that's a little outdated.
Yeah, it's like 300. It's crazy.
Yeah, so and for a lot of models out there, I want you to hear this too. There's a lot of acting in modeling. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of work that goes in to be a really great model, and so you can have a good look, and then you can really separate yourself even in the modeling world. I mean, I know I do some training with like Miss USA pageant girls to work on their mindset, work on what they're thinking about, so that their emotion matches their look. And you know this more than anybody probably, but you can take somebody who's beautiful, and then they could not, for whatever reason, not come across well on camera, and you could take someone who was like stereotypically not beautiful, and if they've got the right insides going, it could be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And I mean, you take a Buddhist monk, let's just say, and if they were missing a tooth and this and that, but they were in a state of peace on the inside, and you took their photo, you'd be like, that's the person I want right there. I mean, they're beautiful, right? So anyway, there's a lot of acting and modeling.
Yeah, no, that's one of the things that I've shot with Brad Reed. And the first time I shot with Brad, he says, look, I'm not shooting at you. I'm shooting at your feelings. Yeah. And I was like, till this day, that just blows my mind. And every time I go somewhere to shoot with someone, I remember what Brad says. I'm shooting at your feelings. So if I'm feeling uncomfortable, I change my pose where I'm comfortable, and boom, those are the ones that always show up, so yeah.
Well, I think
I'm looking forward to today and maybe taking some classes with you guys too.
Well, good. I think we learned a lot here, and if you will accept more love into your life, you having never taken an acting class, I want you to know that there is so much to it. There's so much self-growth that's going to happen for you inside of our studio, and there's going to be a whole transformation that will show up in your acting. And to know what it is to create, like, to make acting your day job, like, what do I do every day is the question. How do I better myself to get to that Will Smith type work ethic, that Denzel Washington type work ethic? And it's not just I kind of show up and take a class every now and then. This is a lifelong pursuit of excellence in a particular area. And that's what we do. That's what we teach. And then we tell you, it doesn't matter what your skill set is. You could be the most advanced person who we've worked with, or to brand new beginner child. We've worked with them too. And we work with everyone in between. There's a place for you here because we're trying to get you on this mastery mindset. It is passion, love, mastery. You're passionate about this. You're gonna center everything in love. And are you dedicated to mastery? If those three things are true, then you belong at our place. So what I'd like to do, if you will accept my gift, I would love to gift you a course next month.
Oh, wow.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm accepting your love.
Yes, good. Okay, excellent. So, and I don't know which days are already full or anything, so I'll have Brian reach out to you on that, and we'll get you all set up. But
he'll give you a class certificate in a yellow package around midnight.
Yeah, around midnight.
It'll be the night before.
Yep.
Okay, here we go. It's Erick Cedeño.
Yes.
Hey! Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today. This has been Mornings with Matt, the Deering Acting Studio podcast. We were blessed and honored to have Mr. Erick Cedeño on the show. He runs Bicycle Nomad. That is his company. Please go there, check out Bicycle Nomad, follow Erick online, and maybe become a part of this bicycle revolution. It's a very, very cool way to find you, to get into a new space of meditation, which you all know that we very much believe in around here. So thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this channel. Oh, and comment. I was told yesterday by a
gotta
pretty
comment
major
too.
influencer. You got to tell people to comment.
And you know what's funny is we had way more comments than we usually have.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of he has a following, but
The other part is you said comment.
Same time he said comment. Like, why wouldn't we say that?
So like, subscribe, share, comment on this, and help us spread this light-driven content to the planet. Thank you so much, everybody, and God bless. I just missed the wrong button. Here we go. It was so smooth.
Thanks for listening to Mornings with Matt. Please like, subscribe, and follow us at Deering Acting Studio to keep up with the latest content. For more information on classes, private lessons, or professional development coaching, visit www.deeringstudio.com. Have a Deering day, everyone.